Hi, I'm Peter, a product manager at Ortto, and today's video I'm going to show you our new feature for field-based reports. So let's create our report, and I'm going to collect a column chart. Now let me explain our use case. So if you have customers which have a subscription to your account, and they could have a different types of plan that they refer to. Perhaps you have a bronze, a silver, and a gold plan, and you want to be able to see over time how many people you have for each plan type. So now with our field-based reports, you can do that. Now, before we jump in, I'll just call out that for this to work, we do need to have field tracking enabled on the field that you want to build your report for. In order to get the historical data, and I'll show you the difference in a moment. But just to remind where you set that, on your fields page under setup, the customer plan field is the one I'm using, and when I click on that, you can see that field activity tracking has been turned on. Okay, so let's create our chart, our column chart. And you can see that we now have the option to add metrics, not just activities as we did before, but also person fields and organization fields if that's enabled for your account. So I'm going to select the customer plan field. Again, acknowledging this one does have field tracking on, which lets me look at the historical data of the values of this plan. If I didn't have tracking enabled, then all I can tell is what the value is right now, so it doesn't really work for this type of report. So I've got my customer plan field. I want to look at the total incremental aggregate, which will tell me how many people had a value for this field on any given day. I also want to turn off the suppression list because I want to use my test data here. Normally I don't. So at the moment, I'm seeing for each day how many people had a value for the customer plan. Let's zoom in a little bit to get a bit closer. Just looking at this week, and currently it's just saying who has a plan, but I actually want to be able to group by the field. So I'm going to group by customer plan, and this will break down those numbers into each of the plan types that people have a value for. And you can see here for September 12, 13, 14, each of the different values, bronze, silver, and gold, how many people had that value on each given day. So you can see bronze has gone up, and then it's gone back down as more people have gone up to silver. And obviously this is just a short time frame, but you could see as you're tracking this field over time, you could be looking at the weeks and months of data and see how your plan distribution's going over time, particularly as you kick off any marketing initiatives to perhaps encourage people to upgrade their plan. You might have a deal on for certain types of plans. You can see very clearly from this sort of report what impact that has had. Have people changed plan types, and how many do you have in total? As you get more and more data, you can also compare to previous times and get some good feedback that way. So we're using our customer plan field to create our report, and again acknowledging you need tracking enabled on this field to get that historical data. Okay, let's have a look at another scenario now. So in this example, I'm going to create a pie chart. So with our recent addition of the multi-language support for campaigns, you can now collect the language preference of each of your contacts. And so a helpful report you might like to build is to visualize how many people have selected each of the different languages and compare that to the languages you're actually supporting in your account. So let's create that. So again, I'm using a field-based metric here, and I'm going to find language, I'm going to swap to the incremental count, grouping by language so I can easily see all the different options. And I'm going to turn off my suppression filter to see my test data. So now I can see of all the people that have a language preference specified, what's the breakdown. And this example, you could see Spanish has a 30% portion of the languages that are recorded. And so this would be very helpful then to look at when I'm thinking of what languages do I already support in my campaigns, and maybe adding some extra languages to my list. Swedish was also up there. So by looking at a report like this, and perhaps even filtering out the languages that you already support, so you can just look at the ones that you don't support yet and think about what are the next ones that you should consider supporting. I like making this a donut, and you can do other information with this field data as well. Looking at the campaign open rates and click rates, and maybe you want to break that down by the language field to look at is the language that people are viewing your email in making any difference on how often they're clicking. You could build that report looking at the open rate or click rate, and then again grouping it by language so you can compare those responses based on, do the Spanish preference open or click their email more so than the English preferences, and so on. There's lots of different use cases that I'm sure you'll come up with for using these fields, either in your metrics or grouping by. There are limitations on which types of reports you can use fields for example, funnel and geochart and cohort doesn't really make sense to use fields. But yeah, we'd love to hear about what use cases you've found using this field-based reports. And if you do have any feedback or questions about it, please feel free to reach out to support. Thank you for watching.